Good morning. Thank you very much. I'm David Wells. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Envoy Medical. We are a hearing health company. Many of you in the room may have, or some of you in the room may have hearing problems. It's a condition and situation throughout our country and throughout the world that we at Envoy feel is not addressed in the way it could and should be, and that's our plan, is to disrupt this industry. We've got our disclaimers. So what are we? We're a hearing health company. Oh, I guess, Steve. We're a hearing health company. We have two products. One is a middle ear product. It is FDA approved. Our focus today, however, is the Acclaim product, which is a cochlear product that's not yet FDA approved. We're in the process of getting that done. What's unique about our solution, and if you hear anything from today, the one point that I want to emphasize, and you'll see plenty of slides on it, is that our solution is fully implanted in the human body. There are no external devices. So I'm going to say that again. Our solution is fully implanted in the human body. It allows those who have hearing challenges that hearing aids no longer address to have the ability to hear without having anything to let either the world know that they have a hearing problem, and or that can be very expensive and very cumbersome, which we're going to talk about further. So if you walk away with anything today, Envoy Medical has a fully implanted solution that we believe is going to disrupt a very large and very complacent hearing health market. Before I get into too many specifics, I want to talk a bit about hearing health, because it's not something that we're particularly familiar with. In fact, Envoy Medical is the only publicly traded hearing health company in the U.S. For many of us, for me, I hear fine. I'm up on this continuum, up in normal or mild. I don't need any assistance to hear. However, as people age, or as medical conditions or other situations occur, they may some people, to hear properly, may require amplification. Those are called hearing aids. We're not a hearing aid company. We think hearing aids are great for those people who don't have a structural or fundamental problem in hearing. You simply need to amplify. Buy a hearing aid. It's a great solution. It can be very functional. However, as hearing degrades, and as the problem gets worse, simple amplification isn't going to work. If your middle ear or your cochlea isn't working properly, you can turn it up as loud as you want. You unfortunately are still not going to hear. And as this graph indicates, you could be sitting next to a jet engine. And if the hairs in the cochlea aren't working, if they're not transmitting that electrical signal to your brain that indicates to the brain that it's going to hear something, you're not going to hear that. And so what we have done is we have two products, as I've said. The Acclaim, which is in the red, that's a cochlear product. The blue is the Esteem, that's a middle ear product. Now, I'm the CFO, as I tell people, the only science class I ever had in undergrad or grad school was astronomy. Now, I got an A, but it's just astronomy, people. So we're not going to have a full discussion of exactly how the ear functions at a scientific level, but we are going to talk about it at a very high level. The ear is a terrific device to gather sound. Our premise at Envoy is that if you can continue using the ear to hear, so now I'm going to come back to the one thing I said to remember, we're fully implanted. If you can continue using your ear to hear, you're at a great advantage, because the ear is a terrific device to gather sound. and I would walk over, but I'm not allowed to move from the microphone. Sound is going to come in through the ear canal. It's going to affect the middle ear, and it's going to, that sound will create a sound wave, okay? That wave is going to move across the cochlea, which is a little spiral device there, and it's going to move some hairs. Okay, this is a cross-section of a cochlea. So just for clarity, I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to. Here's the cochlea right here. Here's the middle ear right here. Here's the ear canal. As long as these hairs are working properly, then you're going to be able to hear. But if those hairs begin to degrade, which can happen with an injury, it can happen with certain drugs people will have different reaction to, it can just happen with age. When those hairs stop working, you're not going to be able to hear correctly, regardless how loud the volume is turned up. This is re-emphasizing our premise. The ear is a terrific device for hearing, so let's use it. And that, for those of you with more of a scientific background in the room, can see on the far right the different wavelengths where hearing occurs. I'm going to emphasize one word here: traditional. This solution that you see, and I'll have it amplified here on the next page. The solution you see here is what is current in the industry. The market leader is a company called COCH Limited. They're headquartered in Australia. They have about a $10 billion market cap or more, and they do about 1.2 billion in revenue. So they're a very large participant. To give you an idea, they're going to implant about 30,000 of their devices in the US every year. Those devices are going to be partially implanted. So I'm going to come back to it, sorry. We're fully implanted. Their partial implant includes a device that hangs on the ear. So we just spent a whole bunch of time, at least with our belief, that the ear is a fantastic device designed for hearing. Our competition uses the ear simply to hang a microphone. This person in this picture is not hearing through their ear. They're hearing through the device that you see hanging behind their ear. They're tethered to a subcutaneous, that tether attaches to a subcutaneous magnet that is on top of the skull, below the skin, and feeds the hearing information into the ear. Now, does this device work? Yes, it does. Absolutely, it works. But some of the problems are this. First, that person, when they're wearing that device, they're hearing behind them. If some of you have trouble hearing me, which I would be surprised because I tend to talk pretty loud, but if you and I were having a conversation at a loud restaurant, what would we do? If we had trouble hearing, we'd lean in. We'd be using our ear. In fact, sometimes we go like this to use our ear. This device doesn't use the ear. So they're hearing behind. This device also doesn't allow the ear to do what it does wonderfully, which is to triangulate where the sound is coming from. With this device, you're not going to have that. Another problem with this device: you want to take a shower? You take it off, you're deaf. You want to go swimming? You take it off, you're deaf. If you're on the golf course, and don't tell my boss, but occasionally I do make it to the golf course, and I hit a terrific drive, that doesn't happen often. But if I do, and I had this device on and it came off, two things would happen. One, I would be deaf. And number two, I would have the opportunity to spend $7,000 to $10,000 to replace that device if it broke. Part of COCH Limited's revenue, I won't call it a recurring revenue model, but it's a repeat revenue because people have to buy the device over and over if it breaks. With our device, once it's implanted, it's implanted. The final problem with this device is, and while this isn't politically correct and is socially unfortunate, somebody walks in with that, they're immediately evaluated. They're immediately judged. And it's unfortunate, it's human nature. I'm not going to argue it one way or the other. But we believe that there's a very large number of people who haven't gotten this surgery, who haven't solved their hearing problem because they don't want to tell the world every time they walk into a room, hey, I can't hear very well. I'll be brief. More examples. And by the way, these are pictures directly from the competition. So this is what they're saying. This is going to, this is what the device is. Okay. So what is Envoy's solution? Envoy's solution, that by the way is currently installed and operating in 3 people for over a year successfully through Mayo Clinic, is a fully implanted device. I know I've said that about 10 times. I'll stop saying it. This is a battery. This is a power cable lead. This is a microprocessor that's also on top of the skull, under the skin. And this is what allows us to do what we do. So I've said all along, hey, we're different, we're special, we use the ear. How can we do that? We can do that because we have developed a piezoelectric sensor that sits on the cochlea and gathers sound from the ear, converts it into an mechanical signal, converts into electricity that then communicates to the brain, that tells the brain you're hearing something. So we have figured out a device that we know works and that allows people to hear using their ear. Now you may say, well, David, yeah, it's working in 3 people, but how do you know this is going to work in the masses? Our first product, the Esteem, which is a middle ear product, has been implanted in over 1,000 people since 2010 and is working successfully. Obvious question. Well, David, if the Esteem is so fantastic, why did you only sell 1,000 of them? Because CMS ruled that the Esteem product was a hearing aid, and CMS does not reimburse hearing aids. Therefore, neither does Medicare or insurance companies. The cost of the product with the implant is about $30,000. Americans, for whatever reason, don't spend that kind of money on their own health care. Now, 1,000 people did, and 1,000 people are very happy with the product. The company in 2015 decided to stop actively selling the Esteem and work instead on overturning the CMS ruling so there can be reimbursement. Next obvious question. Well, wait a minute. If Esteem isn't going to be reimbursed, what about a claim? What about the Cochlear product? There's already a CPT code for that. I think the reimbursement is up to $42,000. And we are assured that that product, once cleared by the FDA, will be reimbursable. All right. Every company is going to stand up and say, I have a very large addressable market. I'm standing up. We have a very large addressable market. I'm going to explain why. If somebody is diagnosed with a hearing issue that hearing aids no longer address, statistics say they're going to wait 10 years before they have this problem addressed. 10 years. They're going to live with hearing loss for 10 years. And then that's, especially in somebody a little bit older, like myself, 10 years is a long time. People just don't want to have the external. So we believe there's a very large unaddressed market because of the externals. Remove the externals, we feel like we have a good solution. I'm not in the habit of reading slides. This deck is available on our website. I'm certainly going to be available all day, happy to talk with anybody. This slide we've already talked about. This slide we began talking about. Yes. No, thank you for the question. The question was, is the battery external? And the answer is no, the battery is internal. And the battery is similar to a company called Inspire, okay? They have a fully implanted sleep apnea solution. Everybody in the room who has sleep apnea, raise their hand. I don't yet have this solution. This is a fantastic idea. Sleep apnea is a really big problem. Okay, if you don't treat your sleep apnea, you're going to hurt yourself. And the solution to sleep apnea, CPAPs, are horrible. They're difficult to travel with. They're frustrating, with a sleeping partner. They will fly off at night. I had that happen the other night. They're a pain. Actually, I have a new dog. He thinks it's a toy, so he starts chewing on it while I'm wearing it. That's it's a whole different experience. But Inspire said, hey, problem, sleep apnea. Problem with solution, CPAP. Let's fully implant fully implant a solution, battery in the chest, power lead to the throat, device in the throat. Envoy Medical, battery in the chest, power lead behind the ear, implant the sensor that we've done literally over 1,000 times, and put a microprocessor just behind the ear that nobody's going to see. Not brain surgery, it's on top of the skull. So thank you for that question. Yes, it's 100% implanted. This slide simply emphasizes a comment that we believe the market is much larger than even the experts estimate, because we think there's a lot of people that say, I can't hear, but I'm not going to get the external device. Statistics here on costs of hearing loss. Lot of numbers. Forget numbers. I know I'm the CFO. Forget numbers for a moment. Look at the last line. I want to make it clear. Envoy is not saying that hearing health will defer, delay cognitive decline. But there are studies that show that there's a correlation with the risk of cognitive decline, depression, anxiety, and a higher risk of falls. Net, you don't fix your hearing, you put your health at risk. If you can't hear, you're less likely to go to a cocktail party. You're less likely to come to a conference. You're less likely to interact with friends that I see in the room, because I'm not going to be able to hear them. I'm not going to go. And we believe that with a fully implanted product, we can address that problem. Again, more statistics that say this isn't just a national problem, it's a worldwide problem. And in fact, it's the worldwide aspect of hearing loss that brought a gentleman named Glenn Taylor, who's a large investor of ours. Mr. Taylor owns the Timberwolves, just beat my Phoenix Suns. I'm going to let him slide on that. But Mr. Taylor has invested $160 million into this business because he and his wife, Becky, were on mission trips, and they saw the effect of hearing challenges around the world, and they said, you know what, we have the means, we have the heart, we're going to lean into this. Mr. Taylor continues on our board of directors and is an important participant in our business, and we're thrilled to have him. Real quick, competition. I've already mentioned Cochlear. There are two other companies, Medel, Sonova. They're in the space. They do not have fully implanted solutions. Now, another question you may be saying is, well, wait a minute, David. If they're a $10 billion, $12 billion company looking at Cochlear, they must be trying, and they are trying. And thank you. And here's what they're doing. They have a subcutaneous microphone underneath the skin, below the ear, that gathers sound. Think about that for a moment. You're going to scratch here, you're right on top of your microphone. You're not using your ear. You've got body noise. You've got that, all of that has to be processed and filtered out. And they've done apparently a good job of processing that out. But when they process the bad noise, the things you don't want to hear, you process the good noise, the things you do want to hear. That's why the ear is so special. We have an FDA-approved device already, the Esteem. We talked about that. We engaged in an early feasibility study. As I said, 3 people, Mayo Clinic, very successful. Breakthrough device designation, and we've applied for an IDE. What is our plan? Let's just go here. What is our plan? We intend to begin a pivotal study, 50 people, 1 year. We'd like 6 months, but the FDA is probably going to ask us for 1 year. We're going to start that in Q3. We expect enrollment to take about 3 to 6 months. We then anticipate the study to last for a year. We gather data and then submit a PMA. Planned funding, $30 to $40 million. We believe that it's going to take us about $40 million to get from essentially the beginning of this year to the end of next year, when we'll be ready for commercialization. One last point, I see you're trying to ask a question. We believe that the enrollment will be very efficient because all of the doctors who implant the who will implant the cochlear product, the Acclaim, were the ones who implanted the Esteem, the middle ear product. We already have the relationships. We know the doctors. There's about 500 doctors across the U.S., about 100 that do a majority of the surgeries. So we know who we're going to be dealing with. Real quick, my inner CFO can't get away without saying this. We have about 20 million shares outstanding. We have 14.2 million warrants traded, strike price at $11.50. Ticker is COCHW. Fully diluted capitalization of 43.5 million shares and a market cap of about 100 million. Questions? So in terms of positive or negative? No, we're not affecting their equilibrium. Yes. Yeah, so thank you. I didn't communicate well. We need to spend $30 to $40 million over the next 2 years. The study is only about $5 million. So we haven't made forward-looking statements, so I can't get any more granular than that. But yes, it's that study that's going to provide the data that we will then package into a PMA and submit to the FDA. Does that answer your question? Good, thank you for pointing that out. Yes. Outside of the ones who've already done? It's going to be a surgery-trained audiologist who has the ability to implant any one of a number of products in the ear. About 500. There's about 500 across the U.S. of doctors who are qualified to do that. And we're in contact with a majority of them by virtue of our history. Yes. I can't read that. I'm not hearing impaired, vision impaired. I think it says I'm done. Thank you all very much. I will be around all day. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.